What if I told you that one of the greatest financial teachers of our time wasn't a billionaire, a Wall Street guru, or a best-selling author, but a con artist? Yes, a teenager with nothing but a stolen suit, a silver tongue, and a mind as sharp as a diamond blade. Catch Me If You Can isn't just a movie. It's a masterclass in persuasion, positioning, and the psychology of wealth. But here's the twist. The real lesson isn't in the cons. It's in what they reveal about you, about money, and about the game nobody teaches you how to play. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like you were playing by the rules, but still losing? Paycheck to paycheck, dream to dream, but the finish line keeps moving. Frank Abagnale didn't just break the rules, he rewrote them. And while we're not here to forge checks or impersonate pilots, we are here to study the mental blueprints he used to navigate a world that rewards illusion over effort. Because, in truth, the wealthy don't just earn differently, they think differently. And if you can learn the mental frameworks behind Frank's rise, you can start designing a financial life that no one can take from you. First, understand this. Frank didn't sell lies, he sold beliefs. He wore confidence like armor. He created value in people's minds before ever delivering anything tangible. In today's economy, that's not fraud, that's branding, that's marketing, that's leverage. People don't buy what you do. They buy the story you tell. And Frank told the best one money could buy. But here's the deeper truth. Frank wasn't just conning the world. He was escaping lack of love, lack of stability, lack of direction, just like many of us chase. Money not for money itself, but to feel free, to feel seen, to feel safe. So ask yourself, what's the story you're telling yourself about money? Is it fear, scarcity, or is it strategy, creativity, and calculated risk? Wealth, my friend, is a game of perception. Frank turned uniforms into authority, words into opportunity, moments into movements, and you have access to even more powerful tools, technology, knowledge, connection, but are you using them, or are they using you? Now, imagine for a moment you had his audacity, but guided by wisdom. Imagine using persuasion not to deceive, but to build. Imagine creating streams of income by positioning yourself like an expert before anyone even questions your resume. That's how wealth is created in the 21st century, not with more hustle, but with smarter moves, with magnetic positioning, with belief that you are the asset. So buckle up, because we're not here to glorify crime. We're here to decode the mindset, to study the charisma, to extract the systems beneath the chaos. And by the end of this, you might not just be watching the movie, you might be starring in your own. Frank Abagnale, played with irresistible charm by Leonardo DiCaprio, was more than a teenage runaway. He was a mirror, reflecting everything we secretly wish we had: freedom, influence, power, money, but most of all, the ability to move through the world with absolute certainty, even when he was faking it. That's the first lesson hiding in plain sight. Confidence is currency. People believed in Frank because he believed in Frank. In the financial world and in life, certainty sells. It's what closes deals, builds brands, gets investors, and turns followers into clients. You could have the best product in the world, but if you whisper, the world won't listen. Frank shouted with style. He showed up like he belonged. And in a world addicted to signals, that's often all it takes to open doors most people didn't even know existed. But what made Frank's story so magnetic wasn't just his hustle, it was his understanding of systems. He didn't brute force his way into wealth. He didn't clock in or out. He observed the machine and he found the cracks. He watched how banks verified checks, how pilots were respected, how doctors earned trust. Then he inserted himself with precision. This is not just clever, it's visionary. Because in today's world, wealth doesn't come to the hardest worker. It comes to the one who sees the system behind the system. And that's the part most people miss. Want to earn more? Then don't just work harder. Zoom out. Find the leverage points. Ask, what's the game being played here? What does this system reward? What does it ignore? Then position yourself to be the answer that system is desperately seeking. And don't be fooled. Underneath Frank's tailored suits and fake credentials was a deep and painful hunger. A boy who wanted to matter, who wanted to escape the wreckage of a broken home and feel like somebody. Isn't that what drives most of us too? The desire to stop surviving and start belonging. Money is never just about money. It's about identity, autonomy, worth. And Frank, in all his chaos, reminds us that the search for financial freedom is often rooted in emotional longing. But here's the shift. You don't need to lie to the world to be valuable. You don't need to fake credentials to command attention. You just need to step into the truth of your unique value and learn how to package it. Because your story, your struggle, your scars, they're not liabilities, they're leverage. In a world craving authenticity, your past can become your passport. Now let's talk persuasion. Frank didn't just talk, he transmitted. He made people feel safe, curious, impressed, in control. And in that emotional cocktail, people handed over access, trust, and money. That's persuasion at its finest, not manipulation, but emotional choreography. And this is where financial education often fails, because you can master numbers, invest well, save with discipline. But if you can't communicate, if you can't move people, you'll always hit a ceiling. Money flows to influence. Influence flows to those who understand emotional economics, learn how to listen, learn how to speak the language of desire, certainty, and value. That's not sales, that's survival. Another lesson buried deep in Frank's escapades is the art of reinvention. He switched roles like a magician flips cards. Doctor, lawyer, pilot, teacher. Was it legal? No. But was it instructional? Absolutely. Because the power to reinvent is a superpower. Most people stay trapped because they believe they have to be who they've always been. But wealth doesn't reward consistency. It rewards adaptation. The economy changes, markets shift. But those who evolve, who dare to pivot, to upskill, to reposition, become untouchable. Don't get stuck in an identity that no longer serves. Your bank account. Reinvent boldly. Reinvent often. The market respects those who evolve. Frank also showed us the seductive power of positioning. He didn't ask for opportunities. He embodied them. He didn't chase wealth. He attracted it. Why? Because he understood symbolism. A pilot's uniform, a clipboard, a confident tone. All these things told a story before he ever opened his mouth. In the financial world, your presentation often precedes your proposal. Whether you're pitching an idea, building a brand, or selling a product, people decide who you are before. They understand what you do. That's why branding matters, why visuals matter, why storytelling isn't fluff, it's fortune. People buy who you are before they buy what you offer. And yet, despite all the thrill and brilliance, Frank eventually gets caught. Why? Because the chase catches up. The lesson here is subtle but crucial. Speed without strategy leads to sabotage. You can hustle hard, con your way to quick wins, even taste a bit of glory. But if the foundation isn't real, it collapses. That's why we shift now from inspiration to implementation. How can we build a financial life that's not just flashy, but fortified? It starts with integrity, with clarity, with sustainable strategy. Learn from Frank's rise, but also his fall. Charm can get you in the room, but character keeps you there. And let's not forget the final act. Frank is eventually recruited by the FBI, not because they forgave him, but because they needed him. The system came to the rule breaker. That's the ultimate full circle moment. He turned his biggest liability into his most valuable asset. That, my friend, is the essence of true wealth, turning your pain into purpose, your mistakes into mentorship, your struggle into a system. If Frank can go from criminal to consultant, imagine what you can do when you stop hiding your past and start monetizing your mastery. So, the next time you watch Catch Me If You Can, don't just admire the jet setting and forgery. Look deeper. Peel back the velvet curtain. Behind the cons are principles that can help you design a life of bold income, magnetic influence, and undeniable freedom. You don't need to lie. You just need to learn the game and play it louder, smarter, and with the kind of quiet confidence that makes people lean in and say, "Who is that?" Because maybe, just maybe, it's time the world started chasing you. And here's the truth most people avoid. Frank succeeded not because he outsmarted the world, but because he understood human nature. He saw what people wanted to believe, and he gave it to them. That's a rare skill, not deception, but deep empathy turned into action. Want to succeed finance-wise? Learn what people crave. Learn how to meet needs before they're spoken. That's how brands are born. That's how trust is built. That's how money starts moving in your direction. Frank didn't sell products. He sold certainty. He didn't offer services. He offered stories. And in today's digital economy, if you learn how to meet emotion with value, you'll never be broke again. But what if you don't feel ready? What if you're thinking, "That's not me, I'm no genius, I've got no fancy skills or silver tongue"? That's exactly the trap. Frank wasn't the smartest man in the room. He was the boldest. And sometimes that's all it takes, the willingness to try, to speak up, to ask, to act before you feel ready. Because the greatest financial prison isn't debt, it's doubt. Break that, and your entire life starts to shift. You're not waiting for permission anymore. You're not chasing validation. You become the author of your future, not just a character reacting to it. And that's where the real wealth lives, not in numbers, but in mindset. So now if something inside you stirred, if a thought sparked or a light clicked on, don't let that flame die out. Let it grow. Leave a like to let the algorithm know you're hungry for more. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next mind-shifting lesson. Drop a comment below. Tell me what you took from Frank's story or which part hit home. Share this video with someone who's still stuck, playing small, someone who needs to hear this today. And hey, if this opened your eyes, go back and watch the last videos on how movies can rewire your money mindset. Because this isn't just content, it's your awakening. And you, my friend, are just getting started.